Hello and welcome. My name is Joanne Stitt, and I am a playwright living in Montreal. And today I'd like to introduce you to collage and mixed media artist Chery Holmes, also a Montrealer, and who has for the past 10 years or so been using the significant messages from the theater to create relevant collage and mixed media art pieces that speak to some of the compelling issues and concerns we're facing in today's society. Chery's work has been widely exhibited, and her images can be found on various book covers and magazines. And she has just completed a collage mixed media handbook about portraiture techniques, and the title is Exploring Personalities, and Chery's book can be found on Amazon.ca, and we wish her the very best with it. So, without further ado, I would like to introduce you to the artist Chery Holmes, and thank you all so much for being here today. To my mind, when I was thinking about you and your work, I'd like to know, Chery, what first motivated you to focus on the theater in your artwork?
Well, it was actually through a friend of mine that was so interested in the theater. She got me excited because she would tell me about all the plays that she went to see and the stories and the stage sets, all kinds of things that I could visualize in my mind and give me ideas. And in that period of time, she had a friend that worked in the Centaur Theater who was a wardrobe mistress, and she introduced me to her. Her name was Mary, and Mary took me on a complete tour of the Centaur Theater. And after that, I was like, oh my God, I got to do something with this. And she also took me into her wardrobe room, and at the time, Top Girls was playing, and she had all these costumes, and she was kind of weaving her way through all these clothes, showing me all the costumes and the things she was making, and she was telling me stories about having to change the actors' costumes because they gain weight or they lose weight. And so I ended up doing quite a large painting of her in her environment. Kind of
fighting the clothes?
fighting
those clothes?
You know, like when you go through, when you're a kid and you go to the department store and you're going through all these racks while your mother's looking at stuff.
Right.
All the racks of clothes. Well, that's what she looked like. She was kind of searching for things. And so I did quite a large painting of that. I called it Top Girls because I had some of the characters in the play putting on their costumes. And, sorry?
No, I was just thinking, so is it fair to say then that the energy of the theater, the ideas of the theater, the people in the theater, the costumes in the theater, the stage sets just caught your imagination, captured your imagination, and compelled you to move forward with some creative works related to the theater? Yeah, okay.
Well, there's,
great.
For an artist, there's, well, the stage sets, and there's the lighting, which they can do magnificent creations with almost, and the costumes, like I said, the lighting, the stage sets, and the message, like all the messages in theater that come through that I wanted to work with as well. So at the time, and it still exists now, there wasn't much English theater in Quebec, so I watched a lot of DVDs, read a lot of plays, and then
Good for you.
eventually went a couple of times, it's expensive, to New York City to see live theater and get inspiration there. So it's continuing.
Yes, yeah, and you can take yourself on a bit of a cheaper trip to Toronto and see some of the wonderful plays they have there too, eh?
Yes.
Yeah.
I've heard that. I haven't been to any there yet. I've heard Come From
Something
Away
to look
was
forward.
quite good.
Wonderful. Come From Away was wonderful, yeah.
Yeah.
So after this theater series is completed, do you see yourself continuing to use the theater motif as an inspiration in your work?
Definitely. Yes, I will.
Okay.
I see my work kind of going even more statement oriented, and theater provides a lot of messages and statements. And also I want to do things not as representational as I used to. I want to have things a bit looser.
Okay.
'Cause when I was studying with Marion Wagshaw several years ago, she always used to say, "Chery, loosen up, loosen up." And so many years later, it's stuck in my mind, loosen up. So I would like to loosen up more with how I put the materials on the canvas or panel, and also do the statements, like I was saying.
Right. Now, is there anything in particular about statement art that connects to the times that we're in now and the struggles that people are having in their own lives and politically in the world and environmentally in the world? And do you feel more compelled by the current situations to
Definitely.
yeah.
I don't soak it all up like a sponge, but there's so much of it now to react to. Like, you have to kind of sort through.
It's exhausting, isn't it?
It is. There's issues with the environment, and there's issues with animals that break my heart. There's like issues with war and prejudice.
Yeah.
The list goes on.
It's never ending, eh?
No.
No. And like I was saying at the beginning, it's like, unfortunately, these negative cycles keep repeating themselves, and it is heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But it's better to fight back than to fall into depression like so many poor people are doing these days.
Yeah.
So good for you, Chery, really. Are there any other artists in particular that you admire and that you're influenced by or have been influenced by in your work?
Oh, there's so many. I'm thinking of, well, first of all, David Hockney. Not only his work, but his mind is like amazing. That guy doesn't say no to anything. He's curious about everything. Like, he's
What a wonderful way, to live your life.
Yeah,
That's wonderful.
He's still he's doing work on his iPad, and he's out in the bushes in the middle of a field with these gigantic canvases. And he also did some beautiful, very detailed stage sets in his time for some major productions.
Isn't there a book out on
Yes.
David Hockney's work for the
Yeah.
theater?
I forget what it's called. It's David Hockney Takes the Stage or something like that.
Yeah. I hear it's a wonderful book.
Yeah, and he just amazes me. His mind, when you read, if you wanted something good to read, he has 2 autobiographies, 2 volumes, and you get to hear or read about his life, how he grew up and what influenced him, but also how his brain works, which is
Amazing.
I don't know
24 hours a day.
how he sleeps. Yeah. So that's one person. Another artist I admire a lot is Natalka Husar. She's a Ukrainian-Canadian artist who does quite large narrative paintings in the form of history plays, that she calls them history plays in 3 acts. And her imagery is layered that so much that you can sit and look at her work for ages and keep finding something different. She has layers and layers of images, and she also has introduced some stitching into her work.
Oh, okay.
She takes the canvas off the frame and works straight on the canvas on the wall. And what is most amusing is she's quite a character. She has a wicked sense of humor, and she puts images of herself in her paintings often, not always, but more than not. And she has 3 personas, and one of them's a nurse.
Okay.
The second one is a stewardess, and my favorite is the has-been.
The has-been.
So she has these 3 characters that she uses in her paintings as well.
Okay.
And
am I correct in assuming that Natalka is also an artist with something to say?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Definitely.
how would you describe what Natalka has to say in brevity? I know Natalka's work is so profound and impressive. It is mind-boggling. But if you just could sum up in a few words, what do you think Natalka's trying to tell us?
Ooh, that's a hard one. She's presenting a lot of times like the struggle that her homeland is dealing with, and
Ukraine.
Ukraine, and this is even before the issues now today in 2022. It was before that she's kind of depicting the life and how even young women dealt with living there, and the thugs that they have to deal with in their life, and their living situations.
Yeah.
And it's, I'm sure not doing it justice, but her work tells a story.
Yeah, she has a lot of empathy for people.
Mm-hmm.
She's a quiet, gentle woman who
Yeah.
doesn't miss a trick, right?
Oh, she's a
Natalka
funny
Hussar does not miss a
I
trick.
remember seeing an interview with her at a vernissage, and she had on her top just a bra, but it was all made out of shells or beads or something, but that's all she had on. But and she's talking away in Ukrainian, but I don't know what she's saying, but she's acting perfectly normal, right? And also, I think I read somewhere where she would go and give talks to her students dressed up as a stewardess. So
good for her. Why be the same
I
person
would have
every
loved
day,
to take
right?
in her classes.
Yeah, oh yes, yeah. She's got an amazing mind. I've read some of the material that she's written, and it's like, oh, I have to go over this 10 times. That woman is so smart.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm certainly glad that she's a person of influence, because I think she really deserves to be. And her painting is amazing. The talent
Yeah.
that she possesses is quite
What
stunning.
what she can do with oil paint is amazing.
Yes. Yeah.
Another artist that her work is nothing like mine at all is Myra Kalman. I know she hasn't done work specifically on the area of theater, but she was in a performance as a duck. She's a character as
And
well.
I think I saw her waddling down Broadway.
Yes, she was in I can't remember the performance. I don't know if it was a ballet or something, or she was a duck. But I don't know. Doesn't matter what I look at of hers, I'll smile. She makes me smile,
Yeah.
and her work can be very childlike, but with a lot of meaning.
A lot of meaning, but she's also a performer, isn't she? Don't her art pieces perform in a way to make us happy, to make us think,
Yeah.
to make us feel something? Yeah. She's wonderful.
Yeah, whether she's doing an illustration for New Yorker magazine or she's doing a children's book, I'm always drawn into her images, even though they appear to be simple, but they're not.
Yeah.
They say a lot.
Yeah.
And she's quite a character. She can take you on a walk through the streets of New York, and she'll find every corner interesting or find something neat about what's on the ground. And she's also a character. She collects sponges, elastic bands, little miniature chairs, and boxes. That's just the ones I know about.
Yeah. Yeah. No, she's a neat lady too. Yeah,
Yeah.
really, eh?
Her mind too.
So tell me, in keeping with this, why mixed media and collage and not strictly painting?
My work before now was largely painting on canvas and some on board, but mostly on canvas. And in order to prepare for it, I would do these little mock-ups that combined drawing on paper with collage and colored pencils, whatever I had at hand, and they were like little mixed media pieces, and they were quite popular with people. And also, I think I enjoyed doing them more than the actual painting.
Okay,
You know,
okay.
It was kind of like I had the fun part there, and then I got to do the painting. So
Yeah, now you get to get it down,
Yeah.
down and dirty with this I would imagine, not as a painter, but as having seen painters, the more uptight, fastidious,
So, mixed
scholarly
media,
approach to
yeah,
art.
means
Yeah.
you can mix any media. Now there are so many materials you can use, techniques, styles. There's the what's his name, Jason Messier. He works with found objects, but he's made portraits with those Twizzlers candy.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Faces, and he gets all the stuff from people's junk drawers, and he'll do their portrait with the junk.
Good for him.
And there's also another artist who, Tonya Corky, who does portraits as well, but with laundry lint. I don't know how she gets all those colors. She must have people washing different colors for her and drying them. I don't know, but she does her portraits that way. I guess mostly mixed media makes you looser.
So you're not, in other words, you're not in conflict about the choice you made, giving up the more stricter approach that painting might demand for something looser and more, what I guess we could call it, creative, imaginative. yeah, that's cool. That's good.
I like just the spontaneity of it, or kind of things you'll do when you didn't plan to. It's not as rigid. You're not going, I got to get that person really perfect. And
do you feel like you have more choices too? Like you could choose this, you could choose that, you could do it this way. Yeah, I would think so, eh? That's neat.
Yeah, just keep me out of the art stores.
and the laundry rooms and the toy stores and the garbage cans. Yeah, not yet, eh? Okay, I noticed today, and I'm happy that you have brought a couple of pieces along as I requested. They look very interesting to me, and I'm wondering, could you talk a bit about your theater artworks, the ones that we have the pleasure of having here today?
Okay, I don't know if you could see this. Should I hold it in front of you?
Here, it's okay.
Can you see it?
Yeah. I have it now.
This collage mixed media is called Beautiful Thing, and it's based on the play of the same name by Jonathan Harvey. And it had a lot of themes within it. It was touched on topics such as the beauty of gay love, people living in poverty, uneducated and not being able to advance very much. And it took place in the British Council housing areas. And
that's what we see behind, eh?
I put behind, and I had to print out several sheets because I wanted it to be kind of overshadowing in the background.
Yeah.
This is how they live. They live with, their doors are like this far apart from each other, and you can hear everything on the walls, and this whole community was living under all these circumstances, but I wanted to create in this piece, I wanted to have all the main characters in one image, and the final scene in the play captured what I wanted. So I used that last scene, and I put like the buildings in the background, but over, kind of brighten and upstaging them was the lights and the people, their friends and family that were supporting him, and neighbors.
Okay, so my question, being in the reality that most of us have experienced and do experience today, how did they get all those friends there supporting them? That interests me because they're there, the looks on their faces are very positive and energetic and happy, without having to tell the whole story. Was this what the playwright was hoping for? This type of an ideal resolution to
I think so.
The story of those two young men?
I think so, and I think they had a lot of prejudice, they had a lot of ridicule, they had families that, what are you doing? You don't know what you're doing, and they had a lot to deal with that they worked through and just kept their vision and their love. They wanted to just keep going, and they didn't want anybody to bring them down. And this is one of the mothers of.
So she's got a girlfriend of her own.
Yeah, this is a neighbor who would be throughout the play singing Mama Cass songs, which is kind of amusing. She was another character, but they all kind of, I don't know, they just supported each other, or just wanted to help each other.
That's great.
And
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Now, if only the world could be like that, we'd all be quite content, right? And yeah, I think it's wonderful. I think it's a beautiful piece of work, and it's very heartwarming for me. And
Yeah, I'm pleased with it.
yeah, it's beautiful. It really came out well, and good for you for tackling the issue, and good for Jonathan. What was his name?
Harvey.
Harvey for writing such a beautiful play, and such an affirmative play, such a play that says, "Hey, we can accept and be part."
Good thing.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, so would you like to show me your other one then? That's also very interesting. I see.
Okay, I'm going to do a switcheroo here.
Okay.
I can do this fast. These are all on wood panels,
Okay.
by the way, which I love to work on because they
wow,
they
she's
take a lot
neat
of
too.
damage.
Look at her. Holy cow.
Yeah, I saw a movie on PBS about theater and different parts of the theater, different roles people play in putting on a production. And this one segment was on the prop master, which I named this piece. And they not only had to beg, borrow, and buy all kinds of things for each production, a lot of times they had to make their own
Which
props.
looks like what she might be up to right there in
Yeah.
your collage, eh? She's
Yeah.
very
So-
much at work and intense with whatever the heck she's doing there, which looks like a crown, perhaps, of some kind.
Yeah, it's probably a crown for a Shakespearean play.
Oh,
or something
okay.
Like that. And
Look at the things that they've had to collect, which I'm sure they use, but they have to keep, right?
they never know when they're going to use them again, or they're going to have to repaint them, or make them look older. And there's so many objects that they have to deal with, and they have to be positioned in a certain place on the stage, and it's quite a... I wouldn't have minded that job, actually. I would have liked doing that.
You'd have liked being a prop master?
Yeah.
I was just thinking, too, when you were talking about Mary with the clothes and this woman, that there's a lot of people in the theater, they're almost invisible, as you were sort of mentioning.
Yeah.
People that contribute and do amazing work to get plays up and coming and up and running, and it's too bad they don't get a bit more attention, because the work is hard, the hours are long, the pay's not great.
Yeah,
You know,
that's true.
so you've got to really love the theater to
I
commit
think they
yourself
do.
to some of these jobs.
Yeah. And so this piece, I ended up being pleased with this one as well. I took some...
Talk a little bit, yes,
I took
about your
some
process.
prop sheets from different plays. That's what her tablecloth is made of. And I put some actual nuts and bolts here. They're glued on. And I wanted her to be surrounded by all this stuff, you know, these things she has to work with all the time, or things that these are probably from past plays. And the furniture and objects I had in the background, I painted some of them white so they looked like they were floating in the air.
Ah, very neat.
And this area here, I think it was near the end, and there was nothing there, and I thought, what the heck am I going to do with that? So I put in a suggestion of a rug there, and it just seemed to pull everything all around, the elements of the other objects, pulled it all together.
Right. No, it's really neat there. I like it very much.
One of the hardest parts was getting the right glasses for her.
Interesting, eh?
You know how
Yeah,
when you
you
go
never
to try
know
on
what you're going
glasses,
to... Yeah.
you can be there for days. But no, because I tried several ones and they just weren't working.
Those are very nice, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
She looks
Tortoiseshell.
very, yes, very,
Very
very,
busy.
very busy. And has a nice lens to see through.
Right.
So, what's next, Chery? Well, what's on your mind, so to speak, and where do you think you're going from here? I know that you've mentioned that you will continue to use your feelings and impressions and thoughts and considerations, etc., about the theater in your work. Do you imagine you'll be doing more theater pieces per se, if in a different style, as you mentioned before?
I'll be doing that and trying to experiment with how I see things. Not try to trick myself into seeing things differently. I was thinking of Death of a Salesman, and I watched the DVD, the one with Dustin Hoffman, and I could see when I was even the opening scenes where he's driving in the car, it gives you images because you can't see him, and then you can see him, and he's all these funny muted brown colors.
Uh-huh.
And just a lot of the different settings they had, which is something I'm thinking about. Recently, I published a book on portraits using mixed media and collage.
Oh, interesting.
Called
This is something
Playwright.
you just have done very recently,
Yes,
is it?
just this March.
Okay.
So it was,
And where could people purchase this if they were interested?
Amazon.
Amazon?
Has it right now, yeah.
And it's called exactly what?
Exploring Personalities.
Exploring Personalities.
One artist's journey with mixed media and collage portraits.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it's
Sounds very interesting.
14 different approaches to doing a portrait.
Wow.
With collage. And
Okay.
mixed media. Just
Okay.
14 different ways of looking at doing a person.
Perhaps we can do some videos on that type of material, or
Yeah.
when the time comes,
Sure.
or if you have other ideas after this book that you'd like to share, it would be very nice to have you back, and we could do that. That would be very
Okay.
something to look forward to. Well, thank you very much, Chery,
you.
for coming today, and your work is wonderful. And I wish you all the best, and I know that book of yours is going to sell, because you definitely are somebody who takes your work seriously and puts a lot of yourself and your heart and soul into it, and every success to you, because you deserve it.
Thank you.
My pleasure.